Thank you for joining us. We're outside Bromley Police Station in South East London. Myself and Deputy Leader Jayda Fransen. We've just been in to sign on, as we have to do every Saturday. Luckily, no one was arrested this time. No one was ambushed by the police. So we've made it out of the police station okay. But before we leave, we just wanted to do a quick video just to explain what happened with Jayda last week in detail. So Jayda, can you tell us what happened just in the police station here?
Yeah, so as we usually do, we came to Bromley Police Station on the Saturday to sign on. Part of our bail conditions. We were in the booth, we'd signed the paper, and an officer came in and told me he wanted to speak to me about my bail conditions, which I realised was absolute rubbish, given that the conditions had been set by the court and there was no need for an officer to discuss it with me. So I promptly handed my belongings over to Paul Golding, and I thought something was amiss, but I wasn't quite prepared to be taken out the back, sat in front of a detective sent over from the PSNI, who arrested me for an offence that was triggered by a speech that I gave in Northern Ireland in Belfast on the 6th of August. This detective placed me under arrest, and I asked if I could let Paul know what was going on, because he's out in the waiting room thinking what's happening. They let me speak to him through a small gap through the door. They wouldn't let me, despite the fact that there were 5 officers from Northern Ireland and another 2 from Bromley, so I was well and truly outnumbered if I'd tried to run. They only let me talk to Paul through a small gap in the door and explain that I was under arrest.
Okay, so he was arrested here. They told me straight away, they came out and spoke to me and said, we are flying her to Belfast immediately to be interrogated. What happened then? So I expected you to get a phone call if you late that night saying you've been flown to Belfast.
Yeah, well, they were telling porkies. They didn't fly me to Belfast. They took me out the back of the station, put me into a police van. I had there were 4 officers escorting me, 2 either side of me, 2 in the front, and they explained that they were specially trained officers. They'd been specially trained to transport prisoners by air, but I was being driven up to Newcastle 6 hours and then put on a ferry for 8 hours from Liverpool to Belfast.
Okay, so that obviously I know from Liverpool to Belfast on the ferry takes 8 or 9 hours, plus the drive up there. It takes an hour by plane. So why do you think that they took you the long route?
Well, look, we're about 35 minutes from Gatwick Airport, so they definitely did take me the long route. The detective got a flight. He didn't come with us in the van and on the ferry. The 4 officers that transported me, though, we were gone for a long time. This journey took a long time, and I think the purpose of it was just to cause as much disruption as possible. Do you know, I think the whole exercise was just to cause me as much inconvenience as they possibly can to deter me from engaging in any further political activity. I think the same tactics are employed by Kent Police. It's not going to work, but that's my belief.
Okay, so you was arrested here, and then you was driven all the way up north, and then you was put on a ferry over to Belfast when they could have taken you to an airport, and you'd have been there in an hour. They did this, they took the long route purely to be as disruptive and to give you as much of a bad experience as possible.
Yep, I believe so.
What happened then in Belfast?
So, after being arrested here at 4 PM, I arrived in Belfast at 6:30 AM, got to the police station by 7 AM. I was then put in a cell. I had to see a doctor. That was the first thing that happened. And the doctor had to deem whether I was fit for interview after having travelled for, I don't know, hours and hours and then like 18 hours. After I saw the doctor, I was placed into a cell for a few hours, and then I was interrogated. I was questioned for 4 hours, after which I was taken to the desk and I was charged. But the whole experience was just completely bizarre. Like, it was, you'd expect it of a terrorist, but not for a public order alleged offence of giving an anti-Islamic speech. And I might add that on the arrest sheet that was given to me here, that was shown to me here, that is exactly what it said and what was read out to me. You are being arrested for giving a speech which was deemed to be anti-Islamic.
Well, it's just, I've always thought to myself, if you want to know who rules you, who is it that you can't criticise? And it seems in this country you can't criticise Islam. That seems to be the way things are going. So they took you all the way up north, they took you on a ferry, they interrogated you for 4 hours while you was tired and worn out, and and then they charged you for pretty much the same things they charged Pastor McConnell, correct?
Yes.
Over in Northern Ireland.
Yeah, that's right.
Hate speech against Muslims.
Yeah, that's right. And then after I was charged, I was told that I couldn't just leave the police station. I had to be taken out the back. I was put in a police car. 2 detectives drove me to the airport and said that they had to take me through to departures to make sure that I got on a flight home. So, yeah, I mean, look,
So,
first and foremost...
So they took you the very, very longest way possible
Yeah.
over there,
Yeah.
and then when they'd finished with you, they wanted you out the country, they put you on a plane quickly back
Quick
to
as
London.
possible. Quickest journey ever. Straight to the airport, straight on the plane, back home.
Well, this just goes to show the lengths at which the state, the authorities are desperate to try and stop this movement in its tracks. They're persecuting Jayda, they're persecuting me. Are they going to win? Are they going to stop us?
Or can I just say, rest assured that whilst our country might now appear to be Sharia compliant in that we can't say anything nasty or upsetting about Islam as an ideology, we do have free speech and millions of people fought for us to have it. So there is no way that this level of persecution or any level of persecution is going to stop either of us. You have our word on that one.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us. We'll provide more updates shortly on the ongoing saga of our persecution.
God bless.
God bless.
You didn't frankly have the balls to put country before party.